Just like I expected, I woke up and my left knee was just aching. A twinge goes through it every time I bend it. So, being right beside the Trans-Canada Highway, I decided to get on the major highway for a bit so I don't need to shift gears as often. Give my leg a rest. And a less smoky day, but the air was still real heavy with moisture. Could feel storms just trying to happen. So I made tracks today. I made some good time getting across a little bit of the last part of Quebec before I get into the Maritimes. And got distracted again by a mountain. This time one I didn't have to climb all the way up. I got to drive most of the way up of it. So I took another little detour off of the Trans-Canada Highway eventually. And you can really tell how French and how Catholic historically this area is. Every little town you go through, there is an intricate spire on top of the most prominent church in town. I'm used to the more British style around home where every little town has more moderate sort of a stack on top of it. But I always liked architecture, so taking a little peek at them as I drive by, they're just magnificent for being in little farm towns. But as I get further east, everything gets older. And I'm realizing now that being on the other side of the St. Lawrence is something completely new to me. It's not the same landscape anymore. This is the upper reaches of the Appalachian Mountains, really. Just been worn down so much over time, there's little isolated peaks here and there. But what a beautiful countryside. The rivers are all wider and shallower than I generally would see around home. I need to get my canoe out into one of them, though I'm kind of thinking about putting it into the St. Lawrence just a little bit before I get too far up it that it's basically the mouth of the ocean. Yeah, most of the trip here, the canoe has just been my camera mount on top. I got it down and took it out in Kingston Harbor, but I never took the camera with me. Just got one little shaky bit of footage out there. And the waves were rough. Lake Ontario, it's pretty rough. The rivers are a bit nicer, but you have to fight the current one way or the other. The lake, I was fighting waves. So yeah, I need to get the canoe out more. I need to get my arms a little bit stronger before I get near the ocean, because if there's a spot that's safe enough to put this thing in the Atlantic Ocean, I want to. I'm gonna have to learn about tides and currents and such before I do, and not go too far from shore. But a little bit of salt water won't hurt it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm still in Quebec. We're making pretty good time towards New Brunswick. I want to get there before the weekend, before Canada Day. Because I guess Quebec don't celebrate Canada Day quite as vigorously as other provinces. So yeah, I'm aiming to get to New Brunswick by the weekend, and I've got all week to do it still, so it's an easy goal. I need to find a nice river to get sidetracked onto. These mountains are good for my legs, but paddling, it's good for the arms. the hill here, I'd shift down a little bit just to climb it. All the weight on the truck. I really notice it once you're on a steep grade like that climbing. But she'll make it. Still no more oil leak problem as far as I can tell. That stuff works pretty good. So I got out and hiked around, found a nice spot to eat my sandwich and read a book for a little bit, and then just took in the view. I'm here in Victoriaville, Quebec, up top of Mont Arthabaska, and the view is just spectacular. It's a bit stormy today, and you can see the little pockets of rain all off in the distance. Nice little walking trail up here, not nearly as challenging as yesterday, though my knee is bugging me still. Good to get out and stretch it. I could have spent all day sitting up there watching the clouds rolling around off in the distance, but the road calls to you. Every day when I get further and further east, I look at the map and look at how far I've made it from home so far, and it's a funny feeling. Yeah, coming down off of this hill down that slope was alright. It's pretty nice having the manual transmission to put it in gear and let that slow you down a bit, save the brakes. But it's also nice to just let her roll too, till the stop sign. Yeah, so off down through more country roads now after stretching my leg out. Knee started to feel a bit better after the walk and then the rest. And I do just like the back roads and county roads, and there's more to see than the main highway. I'll say that plenty of times because it bears repeating. There's just more to see. So many places I pass through and look around and think, you could start a life in some of these places. It'd be a little tough at first anywhere, but you never know. You just never know. Not quite sure where travels will end up. Where might end up feeling like settling down. But it's not gonna happen for a while anyways. The road calls. I'm getting lucky lately with finding places to use the internet and get the videos out nice and quick. I've gotten a little quicker at editing them too, along with fixed the problem I was having charging the laptop from my truck, so I don't have to look around to bum power off of places anymore. I can fix everything up in the truck and get the video ready, then just pop into McDonald's for an hour and a bit while it uploads. So I'll be able to keep pretty up to date on things as I go. Oh, and with having power constantly to the laptop, I can get my gear out and record some music the way I did at Iron Mike's there. yeah, just being out on the road and doing this, somehow it allows me to focus more on creating things I want to create. It creates a little bit of a deadline that I always have to keep putting something out, or the amount of material I have to work with will get backlogged and build up, because I'm going to keep recording all the driving. I'm going to keep checking out different little places and taking the camera with me, so it's pretty easy now for me to get 1 day's worth of footage doctored up in the evening before I go to bed. So as I go, I'm going to keep updating things. I'm going to keep running into people and seeing where things end up. And I'm sure as I get closer to the East Coast, everyone keeps telling me down there, if your car breaks down from someone's house, they'll invite you in for dinner, kind of thing. Which, that's so Canadian. I love it. Yeah, part of what started this trip out at one point was my buddy's brother. I guess he's as much of a friend now as, but he said to me back last summer, Canadian culture isn't really a thing. There's no such thing, right? And I think he was egging me on for a reaction, but part of that reaction was saying, I'm going to go out and find Canadian culture. I'm going to go out and make some Canadian culture. Even though a lot of the songs that I sing are by Americans, so be it. I guess that's part of our culture too, is that our influence comes from them down there all the time too. Yeah, this trip for me is about finding Canadian culture, what it really is. And as far as I can tell, it is that attitude that I keep coming across of people just curious to see what you're doing, and once they find out it's something interesting, they just want to help. It's beautiful.
Un gars qui a une caméra, c'est parce qu'il se promène pas en ville, hein? Oh no, it doesn't speak French, a little bit?
Just a tiny bit, just enough to tell people that I can't.
Where are you from?
I'm from Belleville, Ontario.
Ontario?
Yeah.
Okay, it's north, east, west?
Yes. All the way to Newfoundland. Yeah.
Newfoundland?
Yeah. That's my journey. Yeah.
Bonnes vacances, good vacances. Vacation?
Oh, yeah. Happy travels.
Yes, I have travels, yeah. You like it?
Yeah, I built this thing in this office.
So far, it's water tight.
Yeah. If I drive in the rain, you can see it right there.
Mike Weber, he's Alaska? No? Yes, it's the same thing, 400. Toyota 400 and the front.
Yep.
The workout. Yep. And in the truck, it's a very,
It's fun so hard.
I'd
love to go to Alaska. That's a long way though.
Ride a motorcycle?
Yeah.
And two one, go back ride, and that one also. Fernand, very close. Yes, motorcycle, yeah.
Awesome.
Really have to get gas whenever you can.